listen up. All you ever ask for is an opportunity. You got it today. Where else would you rather be than right here, right now?
The Rockpile Report with Buffalo Bills season ticket holder Drew Gear.
Be aggressive. You have literally nothing to lose. You're a borderline football team. If I don't keep laughing about this stuff, my teeth are going to turn around and devour my brain.
The Bills make me wanna.
They streamlined it pretty well. I think they were happy with what I've done the past 2 years, as far as being as consistent as I can be. But they kind of, one of the things they told me was they wanted me to be around through this program, this culture that they're building for the next couple of years, and so on after that. So that was something that I couldn't. Obviously couldn't turn down. I want to be a part of what Coach McDermott's building here.
Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the Rockpile Report podcast. I am your host, Bills season ticket holder Drew Gear. To my right is my producer, Chris Kruger, and that was Reid Ferguson.
From One Bills Live on WGR.
What a day, folks, what a day. I am wired. I am amped. Drove today in a blizzard, snowstorm. Storm has hit the city. It's crippling the East Coast and parts of the Midwest. Chris, they've shut down the Postal Service. The Postal Service has stopped.
I don't think that's because of Mother Nature. It's because of Bob.
Isn't their mantra, rain, not rain nor sleet nor hail will stop the mail?
No. I've never heard of that in my life.
Whatever it is, guess what? We're better than the U.S. Postal Service when it comes to podcasting because I'm still here. We're still here. We're still here.
Cut that out.
We're still here. Oh, I hate that guy. I'd like to see him get hit with a brick in traffic. Folks, the city of Buffalo and most of western New York and a ton of the East Coast is being crippled with snowstorms. How are you all doing tonight? Hopefully you're all somewhere warm, comfortable, and safe while you're listening to this. Chris, how'd you fare today?
Well, I got kicked out of work. I wouldn't say kicked out of work, but they were like, "What time are you gonna leave early?" I'm like, "I'll leave at 5:15 that's usually when I leave." And they're like, "Well, no, you're gonna leave at 10 because apparently it's bad up in Buffalo." And I work in the South Towns in ski country, so I left work at 10 a.m. and I really didn't have any problems getting home. And there were a couple slow people once I hit up to Civilization, like Transit Road area. Then I got stuck behind people that don't know how to drive. But uneventful trip home from work, and we're closed tomorrow. I don't have to go in tomorrow, so.
Well, lucky you, Chris. I happen to work out in the middle of nowhere. My drive is 40 minutes through country back roads, which most of the time is relaxing. It's a lot of fun. It helps me work out my frustrations on my drive home so my wife doesn't have to be subjected to it. And at the same time, today was awesome. You want to talk about an adrenaline rush. You're driving down, there's a road that's 2 miles long. There's a smattering of houses and trees, but otherwise it's farm country. It's wide open fields. Literally 4 feet to 0 feet visibility. If you want a fucking adrenaline rush, folks, drive down that road. Just drive. When the wind gusts, you literally can't see a vehicle that's half a car length in front of you. They just disappear. That's living. Right there, your balls that close to the bandsaw. Chris, I'm all fired up tonight. Woo! Can you feel it?
No.
Folks, nothing bothers me more than talking about snow when you're from the city of Buffalo and complaining about it. I mean, this is what it is. This is where we live. Everyone likes. Chris, how many people do you see put on their Facebook and their Twitter? I'm from a little bit of snow. I'm from Buffalo. This snow doesn't bother me.
I say that all of the time.
Yeah, except you never end up in a ditch like 2/3 of the people that I see.
No, I drive a Mazda 3, and I blow by people in a blizzard on the 400.
It's all false bravado, and I'm sick of it. Guys, either learn how to drive or stay home. I don't understand it. Either have no fear or just know when to throw in the towel. Get off the roads. Just stay home. For the love of God. So, folks, tonight we have a fantastic guest who's going to join us for tonight's show. Obviously, because of today's inclement weather, he couldn't. And yet the guy's a trooper, and here he is on Skype with us, Mr. Dan Borrello. Dan, how are you doing tonight?
Hey, I've heard so much about Rockpile Report, and I'm so glad to be here. I really look forward to it. This is great. I'm sorry that we couldn't. See, I'm in Buffalo on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. I wanted to drive to your house, but I couldn't, or your studio rather, excuse me, but I couldn't do it because, well, look outside.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, it's still a kitchen, so
check out the action. I mean, we make no bones about it. There's nothing. This is a no frills podcast. We don't have a plush recording studio. We have a kitchen. We have beer. We have pizza, and we've got fantastic opinions.
yeah, and that's all we need. That's all we need.
Now
Hey,
you
can't have a podcast or radio shows without opinions, or else you're just playing music, right? So let's get to it.
exactly. Now, and that brings me to you, Mr. Borrello. For fans who are unaware of who Dan Borrello is, first and foremost, I found out who he was because his podcast started to get carried over on the Roc Sports Network. Now, he's got a long-standing career, though, in radio that precedes anything he's done on the podcast platform. How long did you work in radio for, Mr. Borrello?
I worked. My start in radio was the day that George Harrison died, which was November 30th, 2001. And it went all the way until the day of the NHL draft when they pulled the plug on us. I've done rock radio, I've done news radio, I've done sports radio. Sports radio was always my passion, but I was on the air in Rochester for 15 years, from WHAM and WHDK 1280, doing the old Brad Davies show, to CMF's Break Room, the show that took over for Brother Weeze, and is still viable with Pat Duffy and Tom Ulever on the show now. And then I did an afternoon show for a couple of years with Scott Petoniak at ESPN Rochester. So, yeah, it's and then, because we didn't talk enough hockey, it went up in flames, I guess. So, here we are.
Here we are. But, hey, it landed you here with us, so, hey, that works for me. I mean, just saying. So, you just mentioned rock. Now, here's one thing our listeners may not – I mean, this is a visual thing that our listeners maybe can't follow. But I'm looking at my they know that I make fun of my producer Chris's hair. He's got a mohawk that's gelled up in the front, and he's party in the back with the shit. You, sir, there is a photo of you online circulating with a guitar in your hand, and you happen to be the front man for, or maybe were formerly the front man of a band called Diggler's Bridge?
Diggler's Bridge, yes.
Why don't you tell me a little bit about that?
So when I was working at Hot Talk 1280, Brad Davies, and then went on to big fame doing the Texans pre- and post-game show in Houston, and he did a talk show for a while there. He called me Dan Diggler. It's a long story behind that name. That was my nickname, Dan Diggler. And so if you know anything about guitars, if you play a guitar, the bottom of the guitar is this thing called the bridge. The bridge holds all the strings in. It's where you wire the strings through to tune the guitar. I don't know if you guys know this, but people break strings all the time. They have to replace them through the bridge of the guitar. And when we were at band practice, I would break a string in every single song. And they go, Diggler, gotta go get your bridge fixed. Hey, Diggler, get your bridge fixed. Diggler, fix your bridge. So then I went out and bought a brand new Les Paul guitar, an Epiphone. It was $700, and I found out that I got ripped off by Guitar Center, go figure. So I go and buy this guitar, and the first song we practiced, which was a Tragically Hip tune, which nobody in Rochester cares for the hip. I think it's ridiculous and sad. But anyway, in fact, all the hip fans of Rochester all know each other because we all show up at the same Strictly Hip show every year. But I played the song, and I broke a string. They go, I guess it wasn't Diggler's Bridge after all. Hey, you know what? Maybe we should name our band Diggler's Bridge. And I said, I have no objections. And we've been playing. We went from 2006 to 2010, and then we got back together and played from 2016 on. So we're in our third year as part of our Get In for Woodstock for Free tour. We're playing this Saturday night at a pre-Super Bowl party out at Bar Louie in Greece. So come on down, 9 o'clock.
I'll say this. The reason it piqued my interest was because you had this same stupid haircut in that photo that Chris has right now.
Yeah, I've had to let it go. I've had to join 4 hymns just to get my hair to continue to grow, because at 35 you start to lose it. So take advantage, Chris. While you have the hair, take advantage of it, man.
Don't encourage him, for the love of God. So now let's talk a little bit about your podcast before we get into the meat and potatoes of tonight's show. The Dan Borrello Show. It's promoted by Roc Sports Network. It's on Spreaker. First of all, podcast. You went into it with a background in radio, and it sounds that way. You speak, like I said, there's a way you carry yourself. When I first heard your show, it was your like reintroduction to the area. It was the first show you'd done stepping back into this market in terms of, hey, I'm going to start putting content out here in the Western New York, Rochester area. I'm going to talk Syracuse basketball. I'm going to talk Yankees. I'm going to talk a little Sabres. I'm going to talk a little Buffalo Bills. This is how I run things, and if you don't like it, here's where you can get off. You had me. You had me hooked from that point. How's the show been going, and where can people find it?
You go to Spreaker.com. Just look up the Dan Borrello Show. The easiest thing to do really is go follow me on Twitter at Dan Borrello, DanBorrello. And there's a link at the top of my page. And just click that link and then subscribe, and you get the podcast delivered right to you. And, I try to do it 5 shows a week. Some shows are 90 minutes when I'm really ticked off. Some shows, because I'm driving in my car half the time doing the podcast, if I have a free moment, it's a half hour. I don't have time to do a lot of show prep like you guys. I have a real job now, unfortunately. So when I am able to do a podcast, I do it with the amount of time that I have in the day to do it. And I try to make sure I cover all the major topics, whether it's 20 minutes, 30 minutes, or 90 minutes. I can go 4 hours. I used to do a 4-hour show, fellas, with no phone calls. So talking's never been an issue to me. The thing with the podcast is you can write your own rules. You can do it however you want. No, by the way, if you have nothing to add, don't keep talking for no apparent reason, because people just want to get the gist of what you have. Most people aren't listening for a show really more than 10 to 15 minutes anyway. So unless they have the time to sit there and listen at work. So it's perfect for no matter what you want to listen to. I specialize in the Bills and the NFL, national news, Major League Baseball, particularly the Yankees and the Mets. Those are the teams of local interest with some Red Sox in there. I shy away from hockey because I don't know the sport. I don't hate hockey. I'm apathetic toward hockey. When Dominic Hasek lost that puck in the lights in Pittsburgh in that Game 6 in 2001, I'm like, you know what? 2 Buffalo teams breaking my heart I don't need, and I walked away. I walked away from the sport of hockey. But I can talk about it once in a while. But that's what we cover mostly, and sometimes some national news issues, but rarely it's superficially. But it's mostly just, local and national sports, really. All
right. So with that, we want to launch into, first of all, the first weekend without football. Guys, I don't know if it's occurred to anybody else, but this was the first weekend since the NFL season officially ended, that we didn't have meaningful football, college or otherwise, to watch.
Right.
So what did we do with that time? This time that we invest every single week like maniacs. Dan, what did you do with your weekend?
I played my guitar. I'm not even joking. Like, I have to learn 3 new songs by Saturday, and one of them is Cashmere by Led Zeppelin. And you know that one.
Good fucking luck.
It's 8 minutes. It's not just the lyrics you have to remember. You have to remember the timing of the music. So, because you have to listen to certain
it's a feel song. That's one of those. I played guitar for, going on 16, 17 years now.
Mm-hmm.
There are certain songs that you feel. You don't just play them, you feel them, and that's one of them. And if you can't find the groove and just feel your way through it, you're lost.
Right. Huh. And that's one of those songs where, as the singer, I have to cue the band, because the only thing that changes are the lyrics, as you know. So if I screw up a lyric or if I sing something in the wrong order, it sets off a domino effect, and that's an 8-minute song. I spent 2 of those hours on that 8-minute song on YouTube with the lyrics popping up over and over and over again, charting it and writing notes, and then a couple of other tunes. So that's how I spent my Sunday, and I'll be honest with you, I'd rather be watching – I love rock and roll. Rock and roll is my favorite sport, as I joke, but I'd rather be watching football on a Sunday afternoon. So maybe the Alliance of American Football could satiate that beast on Sunday afternoon. I don't know about you.
Chris, what did you do?
Oh, man. Well, a lot of you don't know. My cousin is getting married this weekend in Gainesville, Florida. So we're doing the podcast tonight, and last night getting some audio for the show. I had to spend Sunday and Monday packing and getting things together to go to Florida. So I made a trip over to Walmart, down Transit, and I got myself a travel-sized hairdryer. Yeah.
Oh my God.
And then I was coming back home because that's all I needed. And I was like, well, I'm going to stop in Kohl's and see if I can't get any ties. Huge clearance of ties. I bought 6 ties, one which I'll wear tomorrow when I fly out to Jacksonville.
Give it to me.
Oh, good.
Give it to me.
What?
Your man card. I want it now. You're getting a hole punch. At least a hole punch. When you reach 10, it's gone. It's rejected. You lose it. A miniature hair dryer. Oh my God! What are we doing here?
How else do you get it to stay like this?
Oh,
You don't know. You barely have hair. You look like shit.
Looking at you right now, I'd like to scalp you like this was the movie Dances with Wolves.
Oh
My God!
Oh gosh.
Me, I underwent a couple pieces of light construction with my father-in-law. The guy comes over, he's nice enough to say, hey, I'm going to be in the neighborhood. You want to move a couple electrical outlets, install some things? I'll come help you. I've got wire, I've got a fish, I've got all these things. Sure, this is going to be great, Larry. And we did. We worked well together. Except he doesn't understand what a maniac I am and how little patience I have. Things got broken. I had to do spackle and drywall and paint by the time it was all said and done. Because I look at what's easiest versus time consuming. Time, what's my time worth? Yeah, you maybe could sit here with a fish and try to figure out why the fish won't go behind the wall. Maybe it's because the idiot who remodeled your house decided to put cross pieces in between the studs that aren't regulation size because he's an idiot and can't work a tape measure. That's what. I just get a hammer and I solve it. That's what I am. I'm a problem solver. So, needless to say, I did electrical work. It was great. I got a lot of frustration out. And then Monday I got to paint and spackle and sand. Oh, it was great. What a fucking weekend. The silver lining for all of us, folks, is that for one final week, the NFL is back. It's Super Bowl week. The final week of the NFL season, and I gotta say it's bittersweet. On one hand, this game is the pinnacle of the NFL, Chris. I mean, it's the thing every team in football. It's the reason you play the game. It's the thing that you fight for every single week. A shot at the title. Holding that trophy, everybody who puts shoulder pads on, that's the thing that they're thinking about, is holding up the Lombardi trophy. It's what they aspire to. And as fans, we're looking forward to that moment when our team gets to hoist that trophy. It also marks the official end of the season. No more football. It's over. No more weekly recaps. No more scouting reports. No more parties. No more tailgates. No more houses full of people while I scream into a pillow and punch my own walls. I mean, maybe I'm the only person that happens to. Maybe.
No, I used to work with a guy who used to punch walls. I'm not going to mention his name. He's a public figure in Rochester, but yes. I've never done that, but yeah, I know somebody who does. And it's not over football. It's just in life in general.
See, I'm more of a destroyer of furniture. But if you live in a place like Buffalo, where the weather, I mean, look at it today. Where the weather is dreary and unpredictable like a pregnant chick this time of year. It almost starts to make you feel like there's not a lot left to live for.
No, God! No, God, please, no! No! No!
Okay, maybe that's a little over dramatic. But nonetheless, we're here. We're at the end of the 2018 season. This is it. The final moment. Hopefully, it's everything that we thought it would be. And as we launch into the conversation about football, again, Dan, thank you so much for joining us for this week's Bills News Update.
Glad I could do that.
We have a 3-year extension in place for long snapper Reid Ferguson. Woo!
I'm pumped about it because, Dan, I think this is your sport of choice just from listening to your show. Every spring and during the OTAs, one weekend, Reid and I would go on a baseball trip. Cleveland, Pittsburgh. I think we're going to do Detroit this year, but I sent him a text a couple weeks ago. I said, if I'm ever going to get to see an MLS game, it would be with you. So I think we're going to go to Columbus this off season to go to see the Columbus Crew. But usually it's a baseball trip, which I believe is your sport of choice. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, I love baseball as much as I love football. Although baseball, the analytics have really taken a lot of the fun out of it, and I love analytics, but I don't like the analytics should be the most important thing. So, but I mean, like, between football and baseball, yes, but I would love to take a road trip like that. Absolutely.
I'm pumped because last week we hosted long snapper Reid Ferguson on this show, and we talked about a lot of things, including his contract situation. And he pretty much told us that he knew he was going to be back, even though there was nothing official. There was nothing out there. And he couldn't tell us a lot, which makes sense because they were working behind the scenes.
I thought we were his friends.
Oh, no, we are. But listen, he also knows we're drinkers. And loose lips sink ships. All right? That's a phrase. Right or wrong, Dan. That's it.
Oh, yeah. You trust me. If you don't, alcohol doesn't help you keep any secrets. But
no. So
secrets even to yourself.
He just kind of underscored the fact that he'd already had positive conversations with the new special teams coordinator, Heath Farwell. And those must have been some really positive conversations because it seems like the two are going to be spending a lot of quality time together. The team announced on Monday that they inked the Georgia native to a 3-year extension. 3 years, Chris. Reid Ferguson and his dog, Buck Ferguson, are going to be natives of Buffalo, New York.
Now that that's settled in, that's it, the dog's name is Buck. I just can't think of quotes from Uncle Buck. Hi, I'm your Uncle Buck. Buck melanoma. Here's 25 cents. Go downtown, have a rat, gnaw that thing off your face.
What an idiot. I love this guy. I like the fact that the team, when you look at the deal as a whole, the fact that we discussed his contract situation the last time he was on the show. We talked about the fact that he was essentially an exclusive rights free agent, which meant that the team could have tendered him a 1-year offer, and they didn't have to give him anything above and beyond that. He would have had no choice but to sign it or not play football this season. Instead, they keep him for 3 years. Okay? Some people may look at that and say, well, that's crazy for a guy who you could have kept for 1 season. But it makes sense on a lot of different levels for this football team. First of all, you got to look at Reid the long snapper. Now, Dan, I don't know how much do you follow special teams?
Well, this year we had to follow it closely because it was so bad. When your last year's MVP was arguably Steven Hauschka, you have to kind of pay attention with concern. It shouldn't be something you have to pay attention to. Okay, it's like if you're older and you have kids at a certain age, you'd hope that you could trust them alone in the house without a babysitter. That's how I look at special teams. If I have to pay attention, we have a problem. Okay, in this past year with Danny Crossman, you've noticed we had a little problem with special teams this past year. Now, I will say this, Drew, you probably realize this. How old are you, Drew? 32, 33?
33.
Okay, so are you old enough to remember Adam Ligner?
No.
I am.
Okay.
I know that because I have that the card game that Brad Ryder made.
Yeah,
and that's a question on there. He was our long snapper during the Super Bowl years.
You know why that's significant? Because when the Empire Sports Network existed in the 1990s, when the Bills were on their Super Bowl run, when I say everybody had a freaking show, I mean everybody had a show. Marv Levy had a show. John Butler had a show. Paul McGuire had a show. Steve Tasker and Jim Kelly used to flip-flop shows on Channel 7. And then Thurman Thomas had a show. Kenny Davis, his backup, had a show. Don Beebe had a show. And I'm not joking. Adam Ligner, the long snapper, had a show. Because he would go on Shred and Reagan's show. Yes, they're that old, folks. And he would make comments because he was the long snapper. What else is he going to do? And the guy had quite a personality. And then he ended up becoming kind of famous in town. And so, Adam Ligner, the long snapper, had his own show on Empire Sports Network.
Wow.
Yeah, and so the point is that the long snapper, for some reason, whether it's John Dorenbos or Garrison Sandborn and now Reid Ferguson, has always held a place in Buffalonians' hearts, and it all started with a guy named Adam Ligner.
That's insane. Now, here's what I'll say. I did my own research. I looked at I took a kind of pros and cons, and then I was like, holy shit, Reid. And then I went back through history. Because here's the thing. When I look at Reid, you have two parts of this guy. There's Reid the long snapper and Reid the person. Reid the long snapper, first of all, rapport with the current kicker, who, as you just stated, could have been labeled the 2017 MVP. We don't win that Atlanta game without him. We don't win a lot of games without him. Who's the guy snapping the ball on those plays? If it doesn't get delivered the fact that most people don't know who he is underscores the fact that he's doing his job.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Like Garrison Sanborn, we actually interviewed him at CMF because he wanted to do a radio show and nobody would bite. So I had him as an Unknown Bills blogger, and people had to guess who it was. And we asked him, like, how important is it? He goes, some kickers like it fast, some kickers like it slow, some kickers like it at a certain speed. I mean, some holders, and the holder's case is important too, his preference too, because he's got to, like, spin the damn thing for the kicker. I mean, everybody, I hate to bring up Scott Norwood, but people forget that Frank Reich had the laces at 10 o'clock during that kick. Okay? Well, whose fault was that? Well, in some ways it was Reich's fault. I mean, Norwood kicked the ball, but Reich didn't put the laces at noon. That's part of it, too.
Well, and that's just it. When you talk about changing personnel, Reid this year exhibited the fact that he can excel no matter who his punter is. He's talking about, he literally snapped to 3 different punters. Everyone had their own style. Everyone has their own specific catch and release points. We talked about that on last week's show. It's crazy to me that he was able to continue snapping successfully to different guys with different catch points, different skill sets, different ways of approaching punting. The punters had a problem getting it off their foot, but he didn't have a problem delivering a clean snap. And here's how I know. Because Reid taught Chris and I how to judge long snappers. It was incredible. The year he spent on the practice squad, he was just watching TV with us and showing us how long snappers should and should not operate.
Yeah, Dan, it was quite interesting that Reid's first game here on the practice squad was a road game on Monday night in Seattle where Richard Sherman took out Dan Carpenter. So we had to watch that with Reid.
And just talking to him about it. Like I said, you get to hear a lot that you don't normally hear, or like get some insight on how punt plays. Like, oh, the Seahawks had this massive run back, and you say, okay, well, that was a terrible punt. And he goes, no, that's bad ball location. And he taught us how bad snaps can influence punts and kicks and things like that. So watching what he's been able to, So watching what he's been able to do and accomplish is incredible, and that's why the team kept him around. Chris, I mean, the dude is the man.
I'm the greatest man in the world. Woo!
And then you've got Reid the person. He's active in charity work all over the place. He's a regular figure over at the Oshai Children's Hospital. Diabetes awareness is a huge concern of his. His brother has diabetes, and him and his brother they make the rounds. They went to Washington, D.C. last year together. And we're talking to different politicians and people of influence about the subject and about how it needs more research and more funding. And last offseason went to Angola prison to just talk to prisoners about their life experiences. And it's incredible the stuff that this guy is involved in. To me, personally, just getting to know him the way that I know him, he's a guy that when you're in the room with him, I don't know what it is. Chris, I feel kind of like a fanboy saying this, which is stupid because I never feel like this about him. But I see Reid, and Reid carries himself in such a way, just quiet composure. Just a quiet confidence that you don't ever lose. And it makes me different when I'm around him because I feel like I should hold myself to a little bit of a higher standard. The guy doesn't cuss. He doesn't swear. He doesn't drink all that much. And when I'm around him, I act more that way just because I don't know. There's something noble about it to me.
I think that's why he fits with what McDermott's trying to build. Not to get religious, but I feel like they share the same Christian values, and that's why he's here for 3 more years.
Now I'll say this, Dan, interesting. During my research on this long snapping thing, I'm like, well, that's a 3-year deal for a long snapper. Who does that? I went back all the way to 1996. Looked at our history of long snappers. Now, you just said that during the Super Bowl years, we had, what was his name, Ligner?
Adam Ligner. Okay.
Do you know who else we brought in after that to supersede him?
You know what? No, I don't. I don't recall.
Okay, well, here's what I noticed. We had I'm looking at the history from today back to 1996 after he was finished. We had a guy named Ethan Albright who lasted 5 years. And then after him, we went through 4 different snappers, including John Dorenbos.
Dorenbos, you dumbass.
I knew you were going to correct me on it.
I remember John Dorenbos, yes.
We had 4 different long snappers over the course of the next, I don't know, decade. Everybody got 2 years, and that was it. Garrison Sanborn and Reid are the first 2 to receive contract extensions in a decade. From 2001 to 2009, nobody got a contract extension at long snapper. And think about it. Our kicking games, they were so-so. They weren't great. They certainly couldn't carry your football team. Not the way ours did last year. It's, first of all, one of the longest tenured long snappers in history was on the Bills roster and couldn't land a second deal. First of all, that's crazy to me. Second of all, Reid is just the 3rd long snapper in 23 years to play more than 2 seasons at the position for the Bills. It underscores that when you find a guy who's good enough, you hang on to him. It's almost like the quarterback position. When you find a guy who can do his job and do it so well that you no longer have to worry about it, you make sure you don't lose sight of that guy. Keep him around. And would you agree with that?
Well, yeah, easily. I mean, who was it? Trey Junkin was the long snapper for the Giants who blew a playoff game for them.
Yes,
I think it was in San Francisco, and it was the game where Jeremy Shockey famously decided to go for a hit instead of a touchdown. Giants end up not scoring. They end up kicking a field goal. Then they lose. Junkin botched he came out of retirement to play for them, and he botched the snap at the end of the game and cost them a chance to advance to the playoffs. And I mean. Like we said earlier, long snappers are trying to babysit teenage kids. If you can trust them with the house and hopefully nothing bad happens, that's all you can ask for. And if you have a good one, you want to keep them on as long as possible. And if you're great at it, you don't botch up, you can have a great NFL career. Because I don't know if you know this or not, fellas, but the long snapper is the only guy in the field you can't hit. Period.
Exactly.
You cannot hit a long snapper.
You can't hit him until he has his head up, and by that point, It's usually too late.
Right, at that point it's pointless. There's no, unless he's running backwards. But when he is snapping the ball, you're not allowed to touch him. Period.
I mean, with that said, I think Sean McDermott put it best.
Nothing happens without Reid, as we all know.
That's literally his ringtone.
Yeah, that's when Reid texts me that plays.
Guys, honestly, I'm just happy he's back. It's good to have continuity. That's what this team has been looking for at every position is continuity. It's something that's just, you don't think about it on a week-to-week basis. The guy touches the ball a handful of times. But it can come down, as you underscored, Dan, to be potentially game-changing if that guy can't do his job in clutch moments. Reid's proven he can do that. And so it's good on this staff and on this organization to make sure he stays in the fold. Now, when we talk about guys who may or may not stay in the fold, that brings me to this is a thing that's going to chap every Bills fan's ass. Tom Brady has announced that he will not retire at all. He never considered it after the Super Bowl. Meanwhile, Gronkowski's future is more uncertain. Chris, what does this mean for the AFC East and the Buffalo Bills?
Simple. It means if the Patriots win, Gronk's going to retire and sign with either the WWE or the newly founded AEW. Become a pro wrestler. If he doesn't do that, then he's obviously going to be down on Allen Street bouncing at Hardware or one of the other dumb bars on Allen.
Now, Dan, what do you think of all this? What do you make of all this talk about? First of all, let's start with Gronkowski. Gronkowski, when he refuses to answer questions about his future for the 2nd season in a row, what do you think of that?
I think Gronk's allowed to do whatever he wants to do. I'll be honest with you, the Patriots have actually played better without him, but yet, I mean, it's weird because they're a better team with him. That being said, I think he's probably at the end of his career, and the Patriots will adjust. Brady's not going anywhere, but I think this provides a great opportunity for Bills fans, and I know a lot of people, I'm in the minority on this, I don't hate the Patriots. I understand why people hate the Patriots. I hate the Bills, and I'm a diehard Bills fan. The Patriots aren't the reason the Bills are as bad as they are. The Bills are the reason they're as bad as they are. But this provides an opportunity, because if you're one of those Bills fans who thinks that Josh Allen is the man and 80% of your success is your quarterback, let's not kid ourselves, then you got an opportunity here to go out and beat the man. Like Ric Flair says, to be the man, you got to beat the man. Well, if he's coming back, guess what? You got an opportunity now to finally put him out of our misery by doing that. I'd rather have us do it and have the opportunity to do it than rather have Brady and Gronk just retire and just evaporate from our consciousness so we all could start over. I would rather, if the Patriots are the measuring stick, I would rather break the ruler ourselves. So let somebody else do it, or let them just, ride off into the sunset. Like, nobody beat John Elway on his way out the door. He walked away. Nobody could beat him. He was done. And so, that's same thing with Peyton Manning. As banged up as he was, he wrote his own ticket on the way out the door. I want to put Tom Brady out if I'm a Bills fan. I want to put those guys out. So, the Patriots are going to be fine. He's not going anywhere, so now it's up to the Bills to finally step up and beat them. As far as Gronk goes, God bless him, whatever he does. I mean, he comes off as they call him Gronk, like he's a Neanderthal. The guy's been brilliant with his money. He's been brilliant with his marketing. I don't think he'll go into wrestling because it's actually way more demanding than the NFL could ever be to him. He's going to go to Hollywood, and he's going to have a better career than, Brian Bosworth or Vanilla Ice or any of those guys. And God bless him. Good for him. He was able to come into the NFL. He landed with the right team, because if he had gone anywhere else, he may have been a frat boy and maybe drank his way out of the NFL. But he's, been disciplined with Bill Belichick, and, he's got the fruits of his labor to go enjoy. So let him go enjoy it.
Now, I'll say this on Gronk. First of all, this should be his last game. If you're like you just touched on, if he's an intelligent human being, you walk away from the game at this point. 24 regular season games missed in the last 5 years, forearm, back, and knee surgeries. Missed 3 games this season, but was listed on the injury report for the majority of it, back and ankle injuries. The same things that you've already had surgery on. These are the types of things that everyone remembers. Kelvin Johnson. Kelvin Johnson's career ended not because he didn't think he had the legs for it anymore, or because he didn't think that he could still ball. It was because when you're as big and physical and strong and fast as he is, guys do what they have to do to tackle you, which means you're taking a lot of lower body shots. Guess how the human body can only withstand so much. I don't care how big you are. I don't care how physical you are. I don't care how muscular you are. You can only handle so much. Megatron wore down, and he was a wide receiver, getting tackled by guys half his weight. Gronk has been getting beat up by linebackers and safeties for the majority of his career. That takes its toll. And no matter what you have to say about it, the guy, if you can still walk, having the career that he's had with the laundry list of surgeries and everything else, you would be smart to walk away at this point. Go find a job, as Chris alluded to, bouncing in front of a bar. Or, like you said, go to Hollywood. Go make some movies. Go see if you can parlay your fame into something else. Or just live off your money. Who cares? Go buy a house that's too close to the sidewalk and spray kids with hoses and tell them to stay off your lawn. Who gives a shit? At this point, you still have your physical well-being. Because imagine what 50-year-old Gronk is going to feel like. After all of these grueling seasons of football that he's experienced. When I look at
absolutely.
When I look at Brady, I have an opposite feeling, but I agree with your sentiment. Your sentiment is exactly how I feel. I mean, think about it. This is a blessing in disguise. This fact that Tom Brady says he won't retire is a blessing in disguise for the entire division. Here's why. First of all, time. This guy can't, I don't care what anybody says. Across a long enough timeline, we all die, right? Everybody's everybody's bill comes due. If you're Tom Brady across a long enough timeline, there will come the season. The Brett Favre year. That's what we call it. The Brett Favre year.
Is Arthur Moats a free agent? Can we sign him? Is he available? Is
Arthur Moats willing to come back and end another quarterback's career?
Can we get him?
My point is, you can't exist out here forever. The human body is not... Yes, you are the greatest of all time, Tom Brady. You may be the GOAT. But guess what? You can't beat the clock. And the clock will keep moving, whether you like it or not. If he decides he wants to come back for another year, he's throwing himself back into the lion's den with less armor he had than the year before. Then, I look a little bit deeper. Tom Brady's presence on the Patriots roster. Salary cap implications. Yes, he has, by quarterback standards, taken a discount to stay with the Patriots every year of his career. There's probably already talk of an extension for him. But with that said, Chris, Bill Belichick has proven he can win with anybody. Think about it. Jacoby Brissett, Jimmy Garoppolo, Matt Castle, Brian Hoyer. Since Brady came into the league, when Bill Belichick is without Tom Brady, his record is 13-6. 13-6 in 19 games. The guy doesn't need Tom Brady. Tom Brady is just the frosting on the cake that Bill Belichick has built there in New England. So with that, I mean, Dan, would you agree that his retiring or not his not retiring, you exist there to eat up salary cap. Him taking up $20-something million of their cap space is a good thing for the rest of the league because their coach has proven he can win with anyone.
Well, yes, to an extent, but then again, like you're talking about the greatest quarterback ever here, and he's taking. I think the key word here is that he's taking up a lot of salary cap space, but he's not taking up nearly as much as Aaron Rodgers. I mean, he's taking up just enough where you're paying for a top quality quarterback, but at the same time, he's sacrificed $60 million over the course of his career to make sure that there's a guy like Julian Edelman and a guy like Rob Gronkowski and a Sony Michel and all these other parts of the team. I mean, it's not. I mean, let's be honest with you. Bill Belichick did a hell of a job in 2008, the year that Brady went down the first game of the season against Kansas City. They still, though, went 11-5 and didn't make the playoffs. Matt Castle, won 11 games for them. But at the end of the day, it didn't get them to the playoffs. I mean, it's still Tom Brady and Tom Brady's team, and Tom Brady's brains and Tom Brady's arm, and they'll extend him, but he's going to give them the hometown discount so they can go out and draft younger and get more play. I don't think the salary cap implications are really going to matter. What I think is going to matter is at some point he's going to get old, period. But he's still going to be out there, and there's still going to be Belichick and Brady trying to win football games. And I think, at some point they have to pass that. You can't pass a torch. The torch has got to be taken.
Exactly.
So it's an opportunity. If there's one team in the AFC, I don't think it's going to be the Dolphins. It's going to be either the Bills or the Jets because they both supposedly have young quarterbacks, although I think the Jets' young quarterback's actually in better shape than the Bills' young quarterback. But at the end of the day, I would rather take that power from New England and let them just hand it over.
Thank you. And that brings me to the revenge aspect of it. And that's what I look forward to. I'm sorry, but when I watch some of the greats and their careers, you're talking about the John Elways, the Peyton Mannings, the guys who decided, hey, I won a Super Bowl and I realize I'm probably at the end of my rope. I'm gonna go out on top with the trophy in my hand, and that's the last image everybody's gonna get in their mind of me. And that's how I'm gonna go out. On top, not defeated. I'm the man, and I'm gonna ride off into the sunset. I mean, and he rode off into the sunset with a trophy in hand.
Yeah, but don't tell me he didn't do anything in that Super Bowl. I mean, he was more of a game manager in that Super Bowl.
But that's
my
my
rode
point.
off into the sunset.
He was absolutely, that's absolutely true.
So now I look at a guy like Brady, and I say to myself, you don't deserve it. I'm sorry, you blame the Bills. I still harbor some ridiculous resentment for Tom Brady. Maybe in 5-10 years, when I have a kid who's old enough to understand football, I can explain to him how great Tom Brady was and how lucky I am to have gotten to see him as a season ticket holder for the last, I don't know, Jesus Christ, how many years? Gotten to see him play live. It's been incredible. I've watched his entire career play out in front of me. And he probably will go down as the best quarterback to ever do it. With that said, I'm still in the mindset of fuck that guy, and I can't wait to see his downfall. So with that, I love the fact that he's signing up for another year to end up like Brett Favre. Because that very likely could happen.
I can understand that. I just hope it's us that does it.
Thank you.
If I play middle linebacker, but yes. But if it's not, everybody in Buffalo will be cheering, and I'm like, yeah, you're cheering because he's gone and you had nothing to do with it. So, okay, I would rather be cheering because, hey, we ended Brett Favre's career. The Bills ended Brett Favre's career, but it was just coincidence. Really, he shouldn't have been out there.
No.
You know what I'm saying? He died on the vine.
But that's what happens. The NFL is a bull, and you can only ride it for so long. And if Tom Brady wants to try to hang on for a little while longer, I'm more than willing to sit back and wait for him to get thrown. I guess at the end of the day, what I'm looking for is this. Tom Brady not retiring isn't the worst thing that's happening to the Buffalo Bills, and I'll tell you why. First and foremost, Belichick has proven he can win without him. I mean, you look at the Super Bowl defenses. The teams they won with had a DVOA, for those stat nerds of you out there, a DVOA ranking of 15th or higher. The 8 defenses ranked 16 or lower, 4-4 in the postseason, and had 1 Super Bowl appearance in which they lost to the New York Giants for a second time. Ultimately, defense has, regardless of what Tom Brady brings to the table, the defense has dictated their success. That's what it comes down to. And that is where Bill Belichick lives. That's what he is. People forget that as they watch the Patriots offense work and operate, they say, oh, well, this is Bill Belichick. This is Belichickian. Look at this offense. He's a defensive coordinator at heart. That's what he is. That's how he operates. And the teams that he's had that were most successful were the ones that took undermanned and underpaid defenses, and he found a way to make them at least middle of the road defenses. And that's good enough to get him by when he has a Hall of Fame talent like Tom Brady at quarterback. If Tom Brady's signing up for another year and he's going to get that much worse, it means that Belichick has to do his job that much better. I'm interested as a fan to see how far we can push them to prove they're that much better than us. And as you alluded to, Dan, you got to be the man, you got to beat the man. I don't want him getting his John Elway or Peyton Manning moment where he gets to just hold up that trophy and ride off into the sunset. I want to see him buried. I want to see him put down. And until that happens, I'm willing to accept his existence here in the NFL.
Yeah, I grew up, Drew, watching, let's put it this way. I'm a little older than you, as you can tell. And I grew up at a time in the late 80s, early 90s where SportsCenter was a half-hour show, weeknights at 7 o'clock. And on Sunday mornings during Super Bowl week, at about midnight, they would start showing back-to-back Super Bowl highlights. And I would get up at about 4 a.m., sneak downstairs in the basement and watch every single highlight I could to learn as much about the NFL as I could. And this is back when the Super Bowls were all 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. So in other words, they were still like the Super Bowls were in the mid-20s. And I remember seeing highlights of Namath and Starr and Bradshaw and Staubach and Montana. And to be honest with you, I don't want, as a Bills fan, he gets under our skin. At the same time, though, as great as he is, we realize now we are watching the greatest quarterback to ever play the game of football in our lifetime, not our parents' lifetime, our lifetime. And we hate it because he inflicts punishment on us. But at the end of the day, it's really self-inflicted. He's doing this to everybody. Very few people have gotten by. They're called the Giants, the Ravens, the Broncos, the Colts, and, of course, last year, the Eagles. All right? Only a handful of teams have ever gotten by Tom Brady, Bill Belichick, and the New England Patriots. And, there are more teams that have gotten by LeBron James, and he's supposed to be the greatest athlete in the history of the NBA. Maybe, maybe not. He's certainly the most valuable player in the history of the league. I'll put that against anybody. He may not be the greatest like Jordan may be, but he's certainly the most valuable because you take him off his team, and they're all of a sudden, you take any team you've taken him off, they've become a lottery team. Tom Brady, Bill Belichick is there to make everything, run smoothly. He is the greatest coach. There's no question about that. They go hand in hand, but we got to appreciate what we're seeing here. Here's my thing. Let me give you an apples comparison. When Derek Jeter retired from the New York Yankees, okay, His last game was in Boston. They gave him a standing ovation at Fenway Park. They hated Jeter, but they respected the hell out of him. If Tom Brady played his last game in Buffalo and was going to retire, I don't know that they're cheering for him. And that bothers me a little. Does it bother you?
No, it doesn't bother me. They threw marital aids on the field the last time that the guy was here. He gets no respect, but do you want to know why? It's because of the way he's treated our city, the way he's talked about our city, the way he's talked about our fans, just the way the Patriots have conducted themselves and the way that they've conducted themselves throughout the league and the way that they've existed. Nobody respects it. I don't respect it. I like I said, 5-10 years from now, I'll sit down with my kid and tell him about how great Tom Brady was. It's too raw. It's too soon. And, and if I'm there on that Sunday, you bet you I'm shooting birds and throwing profanity. F that guy, I will see him in hell. Unfortunately, we're all going to have to see him on national television because this is the Super Bowl. It's the Super Bowl we're talking about. The end of the season. As we head into this game, there's a few storylines worth following. Rams, Patriots. You've got the team from LA who essentially, what did LA steal them from another city? And kind of, everyone wants to paint LA as this team that, they just did everything right and they drafted well and they did this and that and the other. Yeah, they screwed over an entire city in the process. Good for them. Golf clap. Golf clap, everybody. And then you've got the Patriots on the other side. And, Robert Kraft. I'm sure Bon Jovi will be in the box. You've got Brady and Belichick. I swear to God, I've never wanted a comet to find a sporting event just out of nowhere more in my entire life. Just find it, obliterate it. Just save us all from this. But because that's not likely, there are some storylines here that are worth talking about. First of all, can a head coach who's literally the same age as me win a Super Bowl? Now, Dan, you've watched a lot of football in your life. There have been great head coaches. Bill Belichick is certainly probably the top of the list of head coaches to ever do this. Can a guy who's 33 and doesn't have any input on his defense win a Super Bowl against that guy?
Yeah, because they're playing this game and anything can happen. But, I understand what you're coming from, where you're coming from. Let's be fair here, all right? It's kind of disheartening to know where your stage in life is and where another guy's stage in life is at your age, where he's not playing in the NFL. He's coaching. He's running an entire organization. Because at the end of the day, the decision maker with every NFL team, aside from the owner, unless you're in Green Bay and it's Aaron Rodgers, is ultimately the head coach. Okay? And it's mind-blowing. Theo Epstein was hired at 30 years old to run the Boston Red Sox, and he won a World Series 2 years later at 32. So, people give Frank Cohen the credit for that, but it was Epstein who put the pieces together to make that happen. We're getting younger in coaching. We're getting younger in a lot of things. People are talking about Jim Bob Cooter coming to Buffalo to be the next quarterback's coach. He was a guy who kind of helped Matthew Stafford for about a year and a half sort of resurrect his career. Jim Bob Cooter's 32 years old. People have figured out now, and the thing about Sean McVay, too, is that he comes from a football family. His grandfather was a vice president and general manager for the 49ers. He comes from a football family, so his transition is much smoother and much easier. He's been doing, like Bill Belichick, doing football since he was 7 years old, and, at some high levels, not just watching it on TV like we have. So, in his case, yeah, it's a distinct possibility, and it could happen on Sunday. The question is, Drew, do you want to see that happen against the guy you hate the most?
You know what? I do. Let me tell you a story. Last season, we went into the Super Bowl. I was dreading that game. Okay? My now wife, at the time we were engaged, my wife's uncle had given us like a $75 or $80 bottle of Prosecco as an engagement gift. Now, I'm not fancy and neither is she. I don't know what to do with this expensive-ass bottle of champagne.
She has no standards. Look at your face.
Folks, I grossly outkicked my coverage.
That was low-hanging fruit.
But with that said, we didn't know when we were going to drink it. We didn't know what to do with it. And the morning of the Super Bowl, I put it on ice. And I said, honey, wouldn't it be great if the Patriots lost the Super Bowl? And she said yes, because she loves football the way I love football. Well, sort of, almost. And when they missed the Hail Mary, we popped bottles. Everyone in my basement went nuts. Champagne was full. I mean, we were on top of the world. It was one of the things. I mean, you want to talk about it like, I mean, to me now, it's like a dream. Like something that, like when you have a very vivid dream and then you wake up the next afternoon and try to remember it. Mm-hmm. I can't get back to there, but I know that in that moment I felt fucking alive. I mean, everything tasted good. I was on top of the world. Now I look at that again and I say, we're here again, watching the Patriots go for a Super Bowl. If they were to lose, would I enjoy it? You're damn right I would. You're damn right I would. I would enjoy the hell out of watching them suffer just a little bit. Just to be as great as you are and fall just a little bit short. Because honestly, I'm petty. I'm a petty human being.
You know, it's funny you mentioned that because I felt the same way when Eli Manning and the Giants beat the Patriots. Like, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I'm not a Patriots fan by any standards at all. I respect the heck out of them, and I admire what they've been able to do. And like somebody wrote in the Cleveland Plain Dealer back in 1998 when the Yankees finally swept the Padres, they went 125-50. He wrote, and I forgot who wrote it. In a perfect world, we'd all be Yankees. In a perfect world, we'd all be Patriots. We would, do more with less. We'd find ways to succeed over and over again. We wouldn't give up. We would take no days off, and we would do whatever it takes to do whatever it is we had to do to get the highest level of whatever it is we're trying to get at. But, there were times when there's only a handful of times when I've rooted for teams as hard as I've rooted for the Yankees. And those are my two main teams. When Michigan loses in football or Miami loses in football, those are my college teams. I get disappointed. Then I'm over it in 30 seconds. When Syracuse win or lose, it's always funny with Jim Boeheim. So I can live with whatever the result is as long as they get to the tournament and I have something to watch in March. When it comes to the Bills and the Yankees, when they lose, I take it personally. When they win, I get ecstatic. Well, when it comes to the Patriots, there's only a handful of teams that I've ever rooted for as hard as the Bills or the Yankees. And it was the Giants in both those Patriots Super Bowls, and it was LeBron and the Cavs when they finally beat the Warriors. That's it. Okay? And I can understand where you're coming from, but it's also an indictment on the fact that you couldn't save that bottle for the Buffalo Bills because there's no chance that would ever be popped in sight anytime soon. As hopeful as we are, let's be realistic here, okay? You're not going to chill that bottle for any game in 2019. I'll be shocked. And I hope from a year from now I'm wrong about that. We have excuses to go out and buy more bottles of that stuff and pop that champagne, okay? But I'll tell you what, you picked the perfect night to do it, and I totally understand why.
See, now thank you for understanding. Now, when I look at this game, I think about it, it's not about Sean McVay. I mean, he's a young kid I can say kid because he's my own age. I shouldn't say kid, I guess. He's a guy, but he's not a man. When I look at it, I say an older man.
Stop right there. Isn't that weird, though, how we look at certain people our age and younger as kids? But then we look at, like, if you're an NFL coach, he's a guy, he's a man.
Exactly.
He's a man's man.
I look at Belichick and I go, oh, that's a man. Well, he's almost 70 years old. I look at Doug Marrone and I say, that's a dude. And then I look at Sean McVay and I go, oh, that's a kid. That guy doesn't know anything.
Doug Marrone's a dude that loves bologna.
He is. Oh, my God. He loves bologna. But with that said, the guy or man on the Rams team that I'm most interested in, Wade Phillips, former Buffalo Bills head coach, the son of bum, as me and my friends like to call him, come up with a way to stop the Patriots. I mean, think about it. When he was here in Buffalo, his defenses carried a lot of these teams. His defenses are what kept us into contention, got us into that wild card game where the Music City Miracle happened. And there's a reason that every team he goes to is somehow all of a sudden successful on defense. The thing that interests me about this matchup, when it comes to Wade Phillips, the Patriots have not allowed a sack this postseason. Tom Brady has yet to be put down. And yet you look at what the Rams are bringing to the table. You've got Aaron Donald, double-digit sacks. You've got Ndamukong Suh. Those are defensive tackles who are imposing figures, pretty much Brady's weakness, his Achilles heel. Everybody knows it is pressure in the A-gap. So when you have defensive tackles like that on your billing, they almost make everybody else's job on defense easier because it's going to be I'd like to think it's the Patriots' sole focus to keep those guys from wrecking every single play. Good luck. Multiple teams have tried. And their front seven has allowed just 2.3 yards per carry in the playoffs. That's been quietly the Patriots' bread and butter throughout these. I mean, everyone looks at the Chargers game and says, oh, Brady threw 300 yards. Brady threw 300 yards, but the rushing attack scored 4 touchdowns. I mean, your running backs are doing the heavy lifting. This is a front seven that's designed to take the running backs away. Wade Phillips, he's the Bills' tie to this game that I'm super interested in.
Oh, not Nickel Roby Coleman?
You know what? Honestly, that guy is walking around. You know what? When the play got made, I said it was bullshit. And then what frustrated me was that Nickel Roby Coleman, when he played for the Buffalo Bills, you never heard a word out of his mouth. You never heard him speak to the media.
Well, he never had anything to say.
Now that he's been that the league has done this, like, hey, well, we can't go back. We can't change what was. We're just going to note it for the future and try to do better. He's walking around like a dude that just got off. He's like a dude that beat a murder rap on a technicality.
Oh, like
He's
OJ.
walking out of the courthouse talking shit to people.
It's like OJ, another Bills connection.
I mentioned that yesterday. I stopped short of saying I might have said OJ, but I think I apologized for saying it. But that's kind of like that was my impression. I made a comparison a couple of days ago, Nickel Roby Coleman to Freddie Mitchell with the Eagles, when T.O. went down and all of a sudden this bust comes out of nowhere and starts making catches and starts getting some fame and talking crap, and then all of a sudden gets shut down and never plays another NFL game. Nickel Roby Coleman got beat on that play. He got away with it. He's been talking smack. All of a sudden he's in the spotlight. Now he's feeding Brady fodder. Even though he's technically correct, you don't want to like give that guy anything extra.
Well, that's the thing.
Ridiculous to motivate Tom Brady, but I mean, did you hear Michael Jordan's retirement speech? Those guys are always looking for something else to piss them off. It's what they do. It's what they feed on. If you don't get that, you're an idiot. But I mean, like with Nickel Roby Coleman, my goodness, dude, just back off. Don't talk to anybody anymore. Go back to being.
He's walking around like he's got it. He's walking around like somehow he's untouchable, and it's unbelievable to me because you're still on trial. You're still here, and guess what? Judge, jury, and executioner. His name is Tom Brady, and he doesn't fuck around. Keep talking shit. Jesus Christ, right. Roby, what are you doing?
But you mentioned Wade Phillips though, and that was kind of like the crux of what you were saying.
Yes,
with Phillips, and you brought up a great point about the run game. Now, Wade Phillips, on the contrary, he's been able to shut down Dallas, and he's been able to shut down New Orleans. But there's a key component in this. Okay, your run game's only as good as your quarterback. Think about it. If there's no threat to throw the football, what are you going to do? You stack the box and hope your quarterback beats you. Well, we saw Drew Brees in the last 6 weeks of the season. After Thanksgiving, that huge blowout win against the Falcons, they went to Dallas the following week and looked inept. Then, and it was partially because Drew Brees couldn't throw the football. Dak Prescott's one of those guys where everything's got to be perfect or he's just not going to play well. Once you know that your quarterback, I call it the Mark Brunell disease. Once you know your quarterback can't deliver long passes, you crowd the box and you come after people. He's not going to be able to do that against Tom Brady. And Tom Brady, he's a guy, if you watch him, I think Pro Football Focus might talk about this. You got to take what they report with a grain of salt. But when it comes to the measurables where the ball is out of his hands, it's like 2 seconds. Okay, so you could say all you want about beating him up the A gap. At the end of the day, Wade Phillips is going to have to, and he's done this before. He's done it with Denver. He's done it with other teams, with other quarterbacks. Heck, he came to Buffalo with Denver 1 year and almost beat the Bills in the '91 championship game. The Bills snuck out with a 10-7 victory. They only scored 3 points on offense, and part of it is because Wade knows how to disguise his defense. Bill Belichick said this week. I don't know if you saw this. My defense has evolved quite a bit. Wade's really hasn't. It's been pretty much the same defense, which means A, what he does really works and he just makes slight adjustments, or B, I'm talking smack about him. I think Belichick has too much respect for Wade to say that. I think that it's just a testament to how Wade prepares. Don't be surprised if you see a defense on Sunday where you got 4 down linemen just standing there at the line, not even getting down the stance, just standing there. Okay, Brady, come after us. Let's do it. Let's go. Okay, the thing is, though, he can throw, which is going to open up that run game. Then what are you going to do? That's going to be, to me, the chess match.
Well, exactly. And here's my point, though. When I look at the teams that the Patriots have played to this point, what's the one thing they both have in common? They both had 1 or 2 pass rushers, and they played a lot of zone defense. Brady has made a career carving up zone defenses. You know what he has always struggled with? Man press physical defense, where his wide receivers and tight ends can't get clean off the line of scrimmage, and there is a significant pass rush. Those teams have given the Patriots fits during his career. Guess what? Aqib Talib, Marcus Peters, Nickel Roby. Those cornerbacks, they're unforgiving. They're physical. They will hand fight you. They will check you. Within that 5 yards, shit gets ugly when you try to go against cornerbacks like that. These wide receivers, without Josh Gordon on this offense, there isn't a wide receiver, maybe Julian Edelman, if he's not lined up against somebody like Marcus Peters or Aqib Talib, who I think can get open. Otherwise, there might not be anybody who can win a one-on-one battle like that. Now, you're talking about Brady's ability to get the ball out quickly. What if there's nobody to throw it to? I expect a physical first half defense, and they're going to take it as it rolls. They'll make adjustments as it goes. But a Wade Phillips defense is coming out looking to punch you in the mouth. And I don't know that the Patriots offense is built to handle that, which means they're going to try to establish the run early. But this front seven has proven they can hold up to the run. They are my key to the game. Now, I look at the other side of the ball. The coach, Bill Belichick. Every week he tries to take something away from his opponent. He tries to take something away. He did it against the Chiefs. You saw him keep Tyreek Hill to what, 1 catch? 1 catch and 1 punt return. You saw him make Travis Kelce, one of the best tight ends in football, essentially irrelevant. They took away the 2 crutches of your offense and make you try to beat them with spare parts. That's what he does. Week in and week out, we've seen him do it to the Bills a million times. If you have 1 thing or 2 things that are effective, he'll take them away and make everybody else around you beat him. So when I look at this matchup, what is it that he's going to try to take away from the Rams? I mean, is it Gurley and Anderson? When you look at the running game, Goff and the Rams passing game is not the same. If they can't get that bootleg play action passing game going. And at the same time, it paces you. When you can use your running backs to get chunk yardage, it makes life easier on your quarterback. On the flip side of the coin, Cook and Woods, your 2 most dynamic wide receiving threats. The Patriots quietly have a strong secondary. Their front seven, it's better as the sum of its parts than they are individually. Individually, they're not that talented. And that's a credit to how good of a coach and a former defensive coordinator Bill Belichick is. But their secondary is playing well. The Rams' offense is explosive. I mean, they threw their way out of a 13-point hole against the Saints. So they could employ a bend but don't break style of defense and try to just let the run game do its damage. What do you think they're going to try to do here, Dan?
In all honesty, it's very difficult to spot, okay, what is the best thing that you could take away? Because the Rams have been chameleons this playoff season. I mean, against the Cowboys, they noticed that the Cowboys were tipping away their defenses, and so they adjusted with the run game. Then, New Orleans, let them creep back into the game, but they still needed 2 long kicks to get the job done at the very end. And a turnover. Offensively with Bill Belichick, I don't know. I do know this. Jared Goff, I hate calling guys system quarterbacks because it kind of damns the quarterback to, you can make that case for any quarterback with a good head coach and go, he's a system quarterback.
I know a guy named Mario Granado who says that about Tom Brady. So.
I can't get behind that because then if that's the see, I hate systems. I hate guys like Chip Kelly and Mike D'Antoni. The system will win. No, the system won't win. The players will win if they can execute your system perfectly. Once the system gets exposed, oh crap, we're screwed. It comes down to players. It comes down to talent. Frankly, I don't think it's going to be Bill Belichick as much as it is Jared Goff. Can Jared Goff, I hate saying this phrase, can he play within himself? Can he find Robert Woods? Can he find Brandon Cooks? Can he utilize the run game? Is Todd Gurley going to be healthy? I think the Rams literally have to play a perfect game here to win this. And I don't think that the Patriots really need to do a heck of a lot. But Jared Goff is a young quarterback. Of all first-round quarterbacks, he's the first to get to a Super Bowl in his third season. And you have to remember, his first season was considered a bust. You know, he got in there late, and he was playing for Jeff Fisher, and that guy did have to – I don't even remember who the offensive coordinator was. They did him no favors whatsoever. I find it hard to believe that Jared Goff's going to go in there. It's not like they went in and, he had some nice drives against New Orleans, but it wasn't like he knocked their socks off and all of a sudden, man, Jared Goff has arrived. Jared Goff is the guy. Let's put it this way. I haven't heard people, leading up to a Super Bowl, I haven't heard people talk less about a quarterback since maybe Jeff Hostel. Jared Goff, for a first-round pick, for a first overall pick, nobody's really talking about the guy. Is he good? Yeah, he's pretty good. But where is he? He's better than half the quarterbacks in the NFL, but is he better than 95% of the quarterbacks in the NFL? Well, no, not necessarily. Is he still young? Well, yes. So how is this going to work? What's going to happen? I think it really comes down to Goff more than it comes down to Belichick's defense. I really do. And if Belichick can get inside that kid's head, because he is good at getting in young players' heads, it could be a long day for that guy. Now, you got to remember, though, no Patriots Super Bowl has ever been a blowout on either side. So it could still be close. This could be a low-scoring affair, fellas. It really could.
Oh, God, don't tell me. Don't do that, because that means I'm going to have to pay attention to it. That means I'm going to have to be glued onto the TV, and we're going to get to that in a minute. But I'm going to talk about the last tie to this game that I have, which is, what would a Pats win or loss mean to the AFC East? Obviously, beyond the liver damage that I'm going to inflict upon myself if I have to watch that Ugg boot wearing asshole hoist that trophy and kiss it one more time. Besides that, there's the question: what does it mean to the division to watch the Patriots win another Super Bowl? I look at it and I say, do we get a pass being the AFC East? People look at us and say, oh, well, the AFC East is a tire fire and the Patriots come out of it every year. Yeah, the Patriots come out of it every year. They maul everybody. You just said it. There's a handful of teams every year that get one over on the Patriots. They have had 12, 13, and 14 win seasons multiple times over the last decade. Multiple times. They rarely fall below 10 wins. And that's out of conference. That's in conference. That's in division. Do we somehow get redeemed watching them win a trophy? Because I look at this and here's what I see. I see that as a division, we've gone through these last 3 straight seasons. The Patriots have gone to the Super Bowl 3 times in a row now. And in every one of those seasons, our division has gone 15-3. They've gone 15-3 against the rest of the division. That's 2 L's for every single team pretty much out of the gate. You can check it off on your schedule. As much as, I look at the schedule, I pick up the Patriots games, and I circle them. And I get amped up the morning before. I'm fired up going into every one of these games because I was there for the last time we beat them at home. And I just want to chase that taste of what I got that day. Just the humbling that they took. And the Bills were on top of the division and life was good for a week or two. But with that said...
Jack Haley's famous prosperity speech.
Thank you. But with that said, I know what that felt like, and I want that. I look forward to it, which is why, A, I'm glad Brady's not retiring. B, I look at it and I say, well, he beats everybody. He beats up everybody in this division. He and Bill Belichick get together and they destroy this division. So with that said, do we kind of get a pass watching them beat up everybody else in the NFL too?
No.
Say no. Just so deadpan.
I'm sorry, but that shouldn't happen. That's ridiculous. I know the Patriots are good, but it just talks about the dysfunction of the Jets, the dysfunction. I know Colin Cowherd said the other day, if you take out the Patriots losses, the Dolphins, the Bills, and the Jets are all really 500 clubs. I can't go there. The Dolphins every once in a while will get by the Patriots. They did this past year. The Jets, when they had Rex Ryan, were able to do it more than others, and Eric Mangini. The Bills have done it. Let's really boil this down. They've done it twice since 2001.
I'm aware. I was there for all of them.
Twice. I was there for the first one. I was on the cover of Sports Illustrated. I was the one guy way in the back when Sam Adams ran back that touchdown. But God,
I was a freshman in college. That was my first hangover. My first hangover was my very first weekend at college, and we were just throwing down. I was like, holy shit, this day is great. I'm 18 years old. There's Keystone everywhere. No one cares that I'm getting drunk, and then the next day I'm supposed to go to class.
And the funniest part was if somebody had said, hey, just so you know, one of these two teams is going to win the Super Bowl this year, you would have been ecstatic. You would have probably never made it to class the next day because you would have thought it would have been the Bills going to the Super Bowl and not the Patriots. Yeah, one of these two teams is going to go on a dynasty run. Oh, my gosh, it's got to be the team that won 31-0. No, it was the team that lost 31-0, who eventually beat that same team at the end of the season.
31-0. Yeah, Jesus.
Anything about the AFC East? No, because you had a carousel of coaches. I mean, for crying out loud, Pittsburgh and the Ravens will go back and forth and take turns winning the AFC North. There's no turn taking in the AFC East. As great as the Patriots are, there are still teams that somehow find ways to beat them in the process. And the Bills have come close often in Orchard Park and in Foxborough, but they always find a way, like in the movie Dumb and Dumber, to trip up at the end and screw up somehow. Okay? As far as the AFC East is concerned, who the F cares? It doesn't change the perception, win or lose. It's the Patriots world. We're all living in it. Nobody gives a – I mean, the AFC East really is like the AFC South. The Bills – let's say if the Patriots – let's say Bill Belichick had never coached, all right? Who knows who they drafted? Who knows? Maybe Drew Bledsoe plays his way out of the league. He's still in New England, and gosh knows what else. At the end of the day, the AFC East is like the AFC South. Somebody's got to win the division. We just don't know who. Maybe it'll be the Texans. Maybe it'll be the Titans. Maybe it'll be the Colts. I don't know. But no, I mean, the New England Patriots could win any division in football, including the North, including the West, and you could go to the NFC and do the same thing. It'll probably be a little bit more difficult in the NFC East every once in a while. But at the end of the day, yeah, they are that great. But, with the AFC East, I just get so angry and frustrated at the mediocrity. I really do.
I can tell. Jesus Christ. Man. A+. I almost opened a second beer and I already have one open in my hand. Christ, man.
What are you drinking anyway?
Moosehead. Because that's the official beer of the Rockpile Report. Chris buys literal cases of it.
Oh, good. Good for Moosehead.
Yeah, we probably I think we'd make up 10% of their North American exposure.
Yeah, I want to say over the last three football seasons, we probably literally drank 1,000 Mooseheads.
That's not something to be proud of, Chris.
I'm proud of it.
Ultimately, the Super Bowl is going to happen. The outcomes, this is all going to play out before us whether we like it or not. And every year, especially when the Patriots are in it, I come to Drew's Guide to Surviving the Super Bowl. Last year's Super Bowl was the stuff of legends. That's stuff stories are made of. You tell your kids about days like that. I mean, that's a flavor that I've gotten to taste too rarely in my adult life. And I savored it without shame. Chris.
Maybe that's how you do it this year. Oh. If you DVR'd last year's game, just started at 6:30 on Sunday.
I've rewatched the Eagles-Patriots Super Bowl 5 times this year. Whenever I'm mad, I go watch that, and then I watch the YouTube compilation of all of the hits Tom Brady took in that first Patriots loss to the Giants in the Super Bowl. Because it's filthy, and I love it. It scratches an itch for me as a person. Watching Nick Foles outduel Tom Brady, I mean, that was magic. And you think about it. Atlanta versus New England, Matt Ryan went to sleep in the second half. But this last year's Super Bowl had so many storybook moments. First of all, tit-for-tat touchdown drives all night long. Tom Brady's hilarious catch failure. The Philly special, which is a play that shouldn't happen. That's a play that shouldn't be allowed to happen. When you make that play, they might as well call the game right there. They threw a touchdown pass to their quarterback. Fuck you, you lose the game. Bill Belichick's offense put up 613 total yards and still caught a loss. And Tom Brady, game-losing fumble and set a new record as the first quarterback to put up 500 yards and still lose the Super Bowl. Dan, what did you think about last year's game, and what do you feel about this year's game?
I was pissed because I was wrong. I thought for sure the Patriots would win. I'd rather be right. And also, Philly fans can be pretty obnoxious too.
Jesus, they're the worst. They threw batteries at T.O. and snowballs at Santa Claus.
I remember the worst when they were booing Michael Irvin as he got carried off the field when they thought he was paralyzed. I'm old enough to remember that, and I've never forgotten that. No, I mean, look, it's like Bills fans. It's like the Bills Mafia. There's only like 5 or 6 of them that jump through tables. Not all Bills fans do that. In Philadelphia, it's the same deal. It's a bunch of guys who love to live up to the reputation that Philadelphia is a bunch of jerks. But that being said, I was rooting for the Patriots to win because I thought for sure they would win, that it was in the bag, that there was no way Nick Foles and the Eagles would have won that game. Whoops, sorry, silly me. I got that wrong. My bad. Other than that, I really didn't lose sleep over it. I go back to this, fellas, and look, I remember Seth Meyers when he hosted the ESPN, the ESPY Awards, and it was after the Mavericks beat LeBron in the Heat when he left Cleveland. And he goes, "Congratulations to the Dallas Mavericks for finally bringing a championship to the city of Cleveland." And I thought to myself, hilarious. And then number 2, how sad is it to be Cleveland that you have to rely on another city to bring you joy? And I don't have to be that guy in Buffalo. And it seems like we've been living that life for a long time.
I'll tell you what, I'm not shy about my pettiness. I would hate this guy.
I know. I just, I kind of just stay out of that, Like the moment the Super Bowl ended, I'm like, okay, who are we taking a quarterback, Buffalo? What are we doing? What are we doing? That was where my focus immediately went after that game ended. I didn't stick around for the post game, and I'm like, okay. In fact, I even went back and listened to a wrestling podcast about Roddy Piper's, final days, with Bruce Pritchard. I mean, I just like, okay, Philadelphia won. Great, congratulations. I was wrong. On to something else.
I sprayed beers and champagne all over my basement. I drank until I literally woke up shirtless on the floor the next day. It was like I was back in my college days. It was like I was back in my college days, just reliving it, just overflowing with joy. And then fast forward to this year. Going from that place, now I'm here feeling this gross feeling of deja vu. Are we really watching the Patriots play a third fucking Super Bowl?
This is my hell.
It absolutely is. Unfortunately for me, I host an annual party for it, and it turns out not everybody harbors the same irrational hatred of New England the way that I do. Therefore, my house will be filled with people, and the game is going to be on the TV whether I like it or not. But it doesn't mean that I have to let it ruin my day. Right, Chris?
Exactly. Well, I mean, I'm not going to be one of those people. I told you to start the show. I'm going to be in Florida for the weekend. And my flight, when I bought my plane ticket, my cousin had texted me, "Hey, wedding, February 2nd. I'm like, "Oh, good, done. I'm buying my plane ticket right now. Tickets are going to be, I'm leaving Jacksonville, Florida, Sunday night at 6:30 at kickoff. I bet Southwest better have Wi-Fi on the goddamn airplane so I can at least buy Wi-Fi and watch part of the Super Bowl until I land in Baltimore and catch a little bit before I get on my plane back to Buffalo."
My thing is this. My guide to surviving the Super Bowl is built on this idea, though, that if you're in my shoes and you genuinely don't want to see this, if things go south and you want to find ways to distract yourself, there's a handful of options at your disposal. I mean, this isn't for everyone, right, Dan? There are alternatives. You went to Roddy Piper. There are alternatives to watching the Super Bowl. Even if you're surrounded by it.
Right.
So for those of you who actually have the ability to put something else on TV, here are some of my personal suggestions. First of all, Animal Planet, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard, the 2019 Puppy Bowl. What's cuter than puppies playing football? Comedy Central, 6:50 p.m. There is a Chappelle Show marathon playing. Chappelle Show! Who remembers the Chappelle Show? They're bringing it back from the... Exactly. You and me do, Dan. Because
it's still like the most brilliant sketch comedy show ever.
Thank you. Because we're old. Because you and I are old. We remember this stuff. But there's a marathon on Comedy Central. ESPN2 at 6 p.m. The 2018 World Series of Poker final replay. Ooh, a little bit of card games that already happened. You can watch that if you give a shit. That's literally the only other sport I can find. This year was sparse. And on ICF, they never disappoint. Super Bowl Sunday from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. If you don't want to watch the Super Bowl, if you can't stand the thought of Tom Brady maybe winning another ring, you can instead watch Revenge of the Nerds and Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Tell me those aren't two iconic movies.
No, they're viable. They're viable options. Absolutely. I mean, I mean, look, the Super Bowl isn't for everybody. My father, it's funny. I was sitting down with my brother yesterday, and I realized that the last Super Bowl I ever watched with my dad, and I watched 7 of them with him, was Super Bowl 28, where the Bills lost to the Cowboys. After that, once the Bills stopped getting to the Super Bowl, he would go work. He'd go work because nobody else wanted to work those days. He's like, all right, I'll make the extra money. Screw it. You know, I mean, I know a lot of people who there's a lot of sports fans who don't watch the Super Bowl. Even Doug Marrone said, I haven't watched the Super Bowl in years. You know, because again, people get sick of their team not getting into it. It's not just people who don't follow sports. There are people who love football. I had teachers in high school who love it. They're like, nah, I painted my kid's nursery. I didn't watch. He goes, who cares? Who cares? Some people just don't care.
Absolutely. And for those of you who are movie buffs, I'd suggest a few of the classics. Maybe watch some Goodfellas. Watch Tombstone, Rocky IV, where he fights Ivan Drago.
Not last night on AMC.
Oh my God, I love that movie. I've subjected my wife to it multiple times. She hates it every single time. It never gets any better for her, and yet I keep throwing it on. Or any of the other man code movies that Chris has no idea what I'm talking about.
I have seen Rocky 2, 3, 4, and 5.
That's it?
Why do I need to see the new ones?
Have you seen Tombstone?
No, what is that?
Have you seen Goodfellas?
No.
Have you seen Casino?
I've seen Coneheads.
Oh my God.
Beverly Hills Ninja.
Dan,
Tommy Boy.
Dan, can you come get this guy?
I'll tell you what. There's a lot of movies I have seen, a lot of movies I haven't seen. So I never criticize anybody who hasn't seen certain movies because there's certain movies that I've never touched either. Like I've never seen any of the Star Wars. I never will. I'll never watch them. I never cared.
That doesn't make you a bad human being.
Right.
I'll just say that it makes me want to tackle Chris to the floor. Now, moving on. Food and drink. When we're talking about the Super Bowl, for those of you who don't have the option of avoiding the game on TV entirely, if you can't just put something on in your home, completely independent of the Super Bowl, you do have options to distract yourself that won't come across as out of the ordinary. You know, it won't be off-putting to your guests. I know I subscribe to these theories. Food is one of the biggest ones. I mean, prepping food for your guests makes everyone think that you're this great host, and it makes them more lenient when you subject them to all of your drunken outbursts and rage and sports-related nonsense.
That absolutely offsets it. Because you do a hell of a job smoking meat, and then that makes up for you yelling at the TV and punching the ceiling or yelling at one of your dogs or yelling at your wife or
Hey, whoa. I don't yell at my wife over football.
Oh, you have.
Well, because she questions me on it. Okay, that sounds terrible. Ultimately, what I look at is this. You have some options here that you can set up for food and drink that will make you seem like a better host or even a better guest if you're at someone else's house. And it's going to get you through this game. First of all, I want to have a discussion. Beverages. Is the Super Bowl just a beer event? I mean, what's your drink of choice there?
Well, I mean, okay, full disclosure. When I worked the radio for 15 years, about 12 and a half of those years, I had to be up at 3 o'clock in the morning the next day. there's no off days in radio. Every day's like a Belichick day, no days off, and so includes the weekends off. And so I couldn't get that inebriated. So it would probably be water or sodas or whatever. But most people would rather have a nice cocktail in front of them. It's definitely not liquor. It's definitely a beer type of game. But I think it's more along the lines of the run-of-the-mill Bud Light, Coors Light, Mick Ultra type of stuff. You can't get too messed up. But I don't think it's a craft beer type of game. I think if you're drinking craft beer while watching the Super Bowl, you're going to be passed out by the third quarter if you don't know what you're doing.
See, I dabble a bit. Chris has seen it.
Yeah. Well, your poor beer of choice would be Coors Light.
Miller Lite. I'm a Miller Lite guy.
I don't know. I see a lot of times. I see you with Coors.
Well, because I bought a pallet of beer and Coors happened to be on it. Ultimately, what we all can agree on is that this is a beer game. You can't drink liquor or wine during this. This isn't when you're drinking. So having plenty of beer and saying to your guests, "Hey, I got to go out to the garage, grab some more beer. I'll bring it back to the fridge. It'll be fine." It gives you an excuse to go somewhere else. Go somewhere else in the house. Hey, I gotta go grab more beer out of the other fridge, or I'll go grab some more beers and put them in this bucket for you all. Everyone thinks you're a fantastic host, and really you're just trying to excuse yourself from the nonsense that's happening in front of you. Also, smoking and barbecuing a meat of some kind. Now here's what I'll say. When you're gonna cook, we're talking food etiquette. I'm talking about ribs, pork shoulder, chicken wings. I mean, I'm serving chicken wings. I'm going to smoke them. I'm going to grill some, kind of cross all of them together. It's going to be great. If you prepare food for people, it gives you an excuse to be outside, not in front of the TV, watching every pregame report just blowing the Patriots with two fists. I mean, what do you do? What's your game day ritual? Dan.
Super Bowl? Well, usually people I get a lot of invites to go, and I try to do something different every year. That's my ritual. Last year I went to this Vikings bar out in East Rochester, and basically all you had to do is buy your own beer there, and they would feed you for free, and it was a lot of fun to watch. It was an intimate crowd. There was enough TVs for everybody. That was cool. The year before I watched with a Patriots fan, my buddy Sean. The year before that, I watched, with my brother and some friends from St. John Fisher. Every year is different. This year I think I'm going to go to my sister's in-laws house and watch the game. Usually I take the first invitation. And because that way you go out and you meet new people and you enjoy yourselves, you have fun with them, and whatever happens. I'm a guy who I take notes during the game, so the one thing that I ask with people is that I'll watch the game with you, but we have to watch the actual game. I don't want to be getting into work conversations. I don't want to be getting into small talk. I want the focus to be on the damn television.
Oh, absolutely
if I'm going to watch
not.
the Super Bowl at your house, we're going to watch the damn game. We're going to focus on the game. So tomorrow morning, when everybody's talking about the game, I know exactly what they're talking about.
I go the opposite direction. I host the party. I try to spend as little time as possible in front of the TV. That's why smoking meat is the best. Anything you do gets you, oh, hey, I got to go check the meat. And that gives you an excuse to go outside and drink a beer or two. It gives you an excuse.
And to yell into the ether.
Exactly.
You got to go outside.
To nobody. I can just yell. Chris has seen this multiple times. It's like, look, I need to get away from you all so I can just go scream my frustration to no one.
I tell anybody at any time, you guys are missing out on watching Drew watch football.
Same thing with halftime. You fast forward to halftime, chicks dig a man that can cook, right? You can wow women with seemingly difficult dishes that keep you in the kitchen, look difficult, and you have plenty of time you're in there just kicking a few back. You're drinking in the kitchen, not having to really pay attention to the Super Bowl while you're in the kitchen catching a buzz and also making something that tastes good. First of all, Chris's chicken wing dip. There is a recipe online for his world-famous gourmet version of chicken wing dip.
Yeah, you can watch. There's a video of watching. You can watch me make it. It's on our YouTube. I don't even know what our YouTube is. Just Go to YouTube and find the Rockpile Report on YouTube. You can learn to make.
I'm going to
chicken
link
wing
the
dip
video of him
the way I
making
make
wing
it.
dip in the thing. Yeah, he uses only the finest ingredients, and his wing dip is the best that anybody's ever had. The first time they taste it, people who bring wing dip to our tailgates admit that it's the best they've ever had. Hand shredded chicken, blue cheese crumbles, Yancey's fancy buffalo wing cheddar. The dude is a dip connoisseur.
Yep. If I was coming over on Sunday, I think I would have made the sausage dip.
Because you're lame.
I just do something. I've always made the chicken wing dip for the Super Bowl. I figured I would do something different if I was coming over, but I'll be in Florida.
Ultimately, you want to be busy. You want your hands to be busy. You want to be busy doing things. You want to be walking around, especially if you're a Bills fan watching this Super Bowl. Because honestly, to sit there and agonize over every single play will probably kill you. It will probably be the end of you. We talked up the game just a few minutes ago and about how hard this is going to be for the Rams to really get over this hump. Ugh. Food reminders. Let's just lay out some ground rules. First of all, finger foods are elite. Dan, can you agree with me, after all the things we've disagreed on tonight, that finger foods are better in a party setting than anything else?
No, you can't lose with finger foods. I mean, because but you'll get fuller faster because they're so small. You just keep eating more and more. But I don't have a problem with them. No, not at all. It's a winner.
Thank you. First of all, no one really wants to use a fork and knife at the Super Bowl. Anybody who tells you otherwise is an asshole, and you should stop being friends with them. Second of all, small foods are great because they relieve the self-consciousness involved with binge eating. My mini hot dog, you think about the mini pigs in a blanket? My record is 72. I ate 72 mini hot dogs at halftime. My friend's wife brought them out at halftime, and me and my buddy crushed a tray of them. She made 140 of them, and I ate 72.
I just imagine you stiff-arming people trying to get some. You just guess who just won the Heisman? I did.
No, because the Steelers were beating the Cardinals, and I was like, well, fuck this. I'll just eat all these. I'll eat all these mini hot dogs. Second of all, condiments. There are no such things as too many. Chris, you know my condiment arsenal.
You will put I think on the counter over there, I think you have salt and vinegar chips. You probably put taco sauce on them and eat them.
Listen.
And any condiment goes with anything that could take a condiment.
That's it. You have to have an array, and if anybody says otherwise, they're not fit to be at your party. Second of all, even if you plan to drink all of the host's beer, you bring something.
Oh, absolutely. You have to. You have to.
You have to, right? Even if you bring a
don't be a
six-pack.
shitty guest.
Bring a 6-pack of your own beer, drink that 6-pack, and then drink a 6-pack of your host's beer. It doesn't matter. The fact that you brought your own will resonate. You're going to serve chicken wings, okay? I'm smoking and grilling my own, but if you're getting them from a pizzeria, no, I don't care. If there are wings at your Super Bowl party, there better not be any fucking ranch. I could go on a tirade about it, but I think Joey Diaz says it best.
Wings must be done with blue cheese?
Blue cheese, yeah, like the way they invented in Buffalo, New York. If you're going to do something original, do it original. You're going to show up with that ranch that smells like somebody's ass. You ever smell
They're saying
fucking
that
ranch?
ranch is starting to replace ketchup.
Yeah, that's
in a
good.
lot
If
of
you're a
ways.
fucking hillbilly and you want to taste the ass in your mouth all fucking day. I hate that fucking ranch shit. Don't put it close to me. Don't put it around me. It's either blue cheese with wings or go fuck your mother.
Indeed, sir, indeed. And then that leads us to the games within the game. If none of these things are an option, don't worry. You can still avoid sitting like a scrub on the couch. Oh, Jesus Christ, just wrestling with your emotions and trying to figure out whether Tom Brady is actually going to win another friggin' Super Bowl again. Just fighting with that internally, you make it fun for yourself. Every year, we as the Rockpile Report do a prop bet sheet. We put it out there for public consumption. We put it out there at our party. Everyone throws in $5. The first and second place, you do a 60-40 split. First place, second place, whoever gets the most right. There are some things on here. Let me tell you, Dan, First and foremost, how many times have you done kind of betting cards? Do you remember those?
Oh, you mean like pick 'em, like picking like the spread and
It's
stuff?
like the pick'ems and the just the betting cards.
Oh, I haven't done them in years, but I remember doing them in college. Yeah.
Okay, so we make our own every year, and every year we come up with our own prop bets, of course, about what's going to go on during the Super Bowl. First and foremost, this year, under overs. We look at the number of times Tom Brady is seen on camera yelling at his teammates. That's going at 3.5. The number of penalties. Oh, you're taking the under? You're already taking the under? The Rams' total rushing yards, 101.5. And the number of times that Drew disparages Tom Brady between kickoff and the end of the game at 11.5.
It's not fair to do it yourself because you could actually like bet on that with somebody else and win.
Oh, no, I never play.
Oh, okay. Oh,
I don't play.
Okay.
This is for you, our listeners, for Chris, for everybody who's out there who wants to enjoy the Super Bowl the way I do.
We did have somebody that we tailgate with come up with Drew Gear Bingo. So all of Drew's certain phrases that he says
when I'm watching games, they all sit around my house and check off literally a bingo card. It's brutal. So for the yes or no's, yes and no. Does Chris's flight get delayed? Since Chris is going to be in the air the day of the Super Bowl. Yes or no, does Chris lose his luggage? Yes or no, does Tom Brady score a rushing touchdown? And yes or no, does Tom Brady, first of all, does Tom Brady rush for more than 15 yards? And also, does Bill Belichick crack a smile at all during the first half? These are all on the list, folks. We even have commercials on here. We talk about, does anyone get kicked in the groin? Does Peyton Manning make a commercial appearance? I mean, think about it. He's been kind of devoid from outside of Allstate. He's been out of the marketplace. How many superhero movie trailers are out there? We have a laundry list, folks. It's incredible. We do our prop bet list every year. If you guys want to see it, email us, rockpilereport716@gmail.com. We'll send a copy of it to you. You can play along at home. Dan, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We're really pumped that you brought an element to our show. Most guys don't have, they don't have the previous radio experience that you did, and they can't carry the way that you carry on your own.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. It means a lot, though, that you guys would actually, I'll tell you what, like a couple weeks ago, you tweeted out the fact that you liked my show. It really meant a lot to me. It really did. I mean, I'm trying to get a foothold in the Buffalo area and get more people to listen to the podcast. So it means a lot that you guys would invite me on to do this and that I got your respect. I mean, it's not easy to, make waves in the Buffalo area unless you're on television, have a radio show, or write for the Buffalo News. So it means a lot that you guys would actually retweet that and invite me on your show. Thank you.
Listen, ultimately, at the end of the day, I tell Chris all the time, I don't want to talk to players. I don't want to talk to coaches. I don't want to talk to anybody who won't give me what I refer to as the goods.
Right.
I want to talk to somebody who's going to give me a straight shot on how they feel, how they think. They're going to put it together just concise. A straight shot, concise. Here's what I feel. Here's what I think. You do it better than a lot of people that I've heard doing it professionally, which is why it blows my mind to hear that you're not still on radio.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you. Radio is a tricky beast. It's a tough beast. Let me give you an example real quick before I go. There's this magic line. It's called Batavia. And in that magic line, people think that, sports in Buffalo and sports in Rochester are the exact same. They're not. In Buffalo, it's all Bills in the NFL and all Sabres. And what gets lost is people who love baseball and college basketball as well, and even the NBA. You get to Rochester, and it's everything. And so but at the same time, sports radio in Buffalo or in Rochester isn't a big deal. In Buffalo, it's everything. So I'm trying to bridge both and be able to speak on all those things because I know that people in Buffalo care about more than just the Bills and the Sabres. And I also know the people in Rochester care about everything. They care about everything. So it's a delicate balance, and hopefully that helps. It really does. So thank you for allowing me to be part of that. And I'm glad you enjoy it.
Super Bowl predictions. What do you think is going to happen on Sunday? Dan, your go.
You're not going to like this.
Oh, God.
But I think the Patriots are going to take it. And you know the Super Bowls typically don't have those round scores that everybody picks, like 27-21. Very rarely do they. I'm going to say the Patriots win this one, and I'm going to say they're going to take it probably 19-14 Patriots.
Chris?
I only say that because I think it's going to be a low-scoring game, and I just don't. It's not going to have a round score. That's why.
I'm going completely opposite of Borrello over here. I'm going bold. I think it's gonna be a blowout. We haven't had one since the Seahawks and Broncos. Bold move here. 41-17, Los Angeles.
Jesus.
Wow.
You just put your balls in the chopping block. My God. Me, I look at this more analytically. Last season's Super Bowl everyone talks about Monday Night Football, Rams, Chiefs, as the future of football. Look at what a back and forth affair this was. As if they forgot that the last Super Bowl was the exact same game. There was only one sack in the whole game, and that dictated the outcome of the Super Bowl. That Brady sack fumble set up the field goal that won the game. That's it. I mean, ultimately, I look at this game and I say each team's strength plays to the other team's strength. You look at the Patriots have been quietly good at running the football with Sony Michel, with James White, and they throw to the running backs. They utilize their running backs in creative ways. Their running backs key the offense. Meanwhile, you've got the front seven of the Rams who have held running backs in check for two weeks. Nobody got loose. Nobody did any damage. Nobody did anything significant. Then you flip the script and you looked at it and you say, okay, well, you've got the Rams that ran the ball down the Cowboys' throats. That's what won them that game. And then they got into a fist fight with the Saints that they probably shouldn't have won. But the reason their passing game started coming back was because the boot action started working. Play action started working because their ground game found its feet. It's going to be strength on strength in this Super Bowl. And I mean, the Patriots front seven, like I said, they're better is the sum of their parts than they are individually. So I feel like this game is going to be, I don't know what you want to, what do you call it, a catch match? I don't know what you call that in wrestling. When anybody can win it. Chris,
I have no idea.
Whatever you call it, this thing is a toss-up. I'm going to hope that the Rams win it by a field goal on the last, as time expires. The same way they beat the Saints. By a field goal, I'm going to say it's 24-21. I mean, Jesus Christ, this game is so close. And to your point, Dan, I ultimately think that the Patriots are the better coached team. They have the prestige. They have the experience.
All we need is LA to be better for 60 minutes.
That's it. That's all we need. Dan, thank you so much for stopping by tonight. We appreciate it. Tell the folks where they can find your podcast.
Thank you very much.
Tell everybody where they can find your podcast and you on social media.
The easiest place to find it is to go to twitter.com. Obviously, look up Dan Borrello. Follow Dan Borrello at Twitter, DanBorrello. Every time I do a show, I do it live. My tweet goes out. You can follow it. You can link there. Or if you just go to my description page on Twitter, you go to my Twitter page, and the link is right there. You can click on it, subscribe. I would love for you to subscribe. Give me some feedback. If you disagree with me, send me some stuff. Tell me what you like. Tell me what you don't like. It is literally just me and a microphone. No sound effects, no intros, no outros. No redos, no guests, just my opinions for anywhere from 20 minutes to 90 minutes a show. Sometimes even 2 hours if I'm really fired up.
Guys, email us if you want to get into these prop bets. Rockpile Report 716 @gmail.com. If it's Super Bowl Sunday and you're in the South Buffalo area, Sloan, Cheektowaga, West Seneca, you don't know where to get your food from? Wise Guys Pizza, Super Bowl Sunday. I swear to God, they have the best food. Chris, my favorite pizzeria in the area. And then Batavia Downs. Make sure you guys sign up. If you guys don't get tickets, you don't come down to the signing event, that's cool. It's going to be a heyday for Bills favorites. You're talking Kenny Davis. Marv Levy's going to be there. I mean, Stevie Johnson. We rode through the list last week. We'll do it again next week just to refresh your memory, but we're going to be there doing a live TV show. You can tune in on WBGT TV or stream it live from Roc Sports Network Facebook. It's going to be great. And if you can, make it out. Join us for a beer or 5. Who knows? It'll be a good time. Guys, we got to get out of here. There's a storm of brewing. I'm looking out Chris's window right now, and the street lights are out.
Nice.
Which means I got to get going. I'm Drew Gear. That's Chris Kruger. That's Dan Borrello. And this has been the Rockpile Report.